This is not a test. Stay calm in an orderly fashion. Make your way to the lifeboats.
Mayday, the ship is sinking.
Let's start the podcast.
So welcome, Kaitlin. Pleasure having you here on the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here. So my name is Kaitlin Powell. I am a nationally certified peer recovery coach, and I am a core trainer of CCAR's Connecticut Community on Addiction Recovery. I train peer recovery coach academies and ethics.
The name Powell sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, I am one of the co-hosts, Christian Powell's wife, also his baby mama. Just kidding. We just had a baby 9 days ago.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. So tell me, what is your experience in recovery?
So I have 6 years. Well, this October of 2021, I'll have 7 years clean from meth, amphetamines, and heroin, and any other drug I could get a hold of at the time. But meth was the big one. And I work in the recovery community. I've worked as my title, I told you, for the last 4 years. In 2020, last year, I kind of took a step back as I was pregnant. So a plus of COVID for me was that I was able to do a lot of my work online. Well, all my work online. So the hybrid work, teaching and being able to provide recovery support via Zoom or over the phone. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit. You said you were 6 years in recovery. So, tell us a little bit about your past, about your addiction, and how you got into recovery.
Okay, so I'm originally from Las Vegas. I was born and raised there, and I got caught up into addiction there.
And how old were you?
I was 18 when I started using. Well, I started using marijuana and alcohol at 15 or 16. And then I started using heavier drugs like cocaine and stuff when I was 18. And you want me to just go down like the...
Yeah, kind of a brief synopsis sort of thing, just kind of like touching points for us. Yeah.
So I went to... I was always very athletic, but like on the weekends I would hang out with friends and it was cool to party. Like that's very promoted in Las Vegas, drugs, sex, and money, and gambling or partying. So that's kind of the line that I fell in. So on the weekends I just partied and that was normal. Like that was the society that I grew up in kind of, or the crowd that I surrounded myself with. And then I graduated high school, went to college for one semester, and then went home for Christmas break. And a stupid thing that I said was I told my friends that I wanted to try every drug at least once just so I could say that I tried it, because I thought that was cool.
Famous last words.
Right. So when I went home for my Christmas break, I tried meth. I had a friend who was doing it and I was curious, like, what is that? She told me and I was like, oh, let me try it. And then I was on a 13-day bender where I didn't eat or sleep for 13 days. It was quite pretty epic. And then yeah, like that was the beginning of my downfall. Like I dropped out of college and started hanging out with different, I met up with a guy and started dating him. And in our addiction, things just got worse and worse. I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost my job. I lost my family support. I lost respect for myself. I was living through the span of my addiction, we lived in a storage unit, my car, a Jack in the Box parking lot, different motels, different trailer parks, all over the place, 3 different foreclosed houses at different times. It was quite bad. And yeah.
So it kind of just started out small and kind of spiraled out of control almost, it sounds like.
Yes. It spiraled out of control very fast.
So talk to me, what was that? What was your moment? What kind of brought you to the point where you realized that you could no longer use substances, that it wasn't a way of life that suited you anymore?
Yes. So many things happened to me that you would have thought would have been rock bottom, but rock bottom, as you know, is different for everybody.
Absolutely.
So I have always wanted to be a mother. I didn't have like the best experience of motherhood with my own mom. So I just always wanted to be able to, well, because my own mother has dealt with her own addiction, so it's, that nature versus nurture. Did I get into addiction because of genetics or, because of where I grew up? But I always wanted to be a good mom. And I got pregnant when I was in my addiction. And I finally thought, well, it's my time to be a mom. I could be the best mom ever while I'm living in some crazy guy's garage, having no job, having no support, being with an abusive man. I thought that was possible. But then my family talked me into having an abortion because, again, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a house. I didn't have my life together. And having that opportunity of motherhood be almost stripped away from me or taken away from me was my rock bottom. I could not live with myself anymore. And like a week later, my dad texted me and asked, hey, do you want to go to rehab in Florida? And I was like, had to contemplate, stay here and live with myself, with what I just did and this man that I'm with in this garage, or go to a place where I can have a bed to sleep in every night.
Little cat invasion there.
Yes, where I could have a bed to sleep in, or I could take a shower every day, or I could eat every day, which I wasn't doing in my addiction. So I chose the rehab for the second time. So that was good.
So let me ask you, what made the second time different than the first time?
The first time I went to rehab, I went to California. And I went back to Vegas and lived with my dad for a while, got a job. And, as somebody in recovery, when we're addicts, we're very good at manipulating and getting what we want. So when
us? No, come on.
So when I went back the first time from rehab, I told my dad, oh, no, I'm just going to a meeting you can trust me. Of course, I was going to pick up my ex-boyfriend, and I took him to a meeting maybe once or twice, but then I started, hanging out at the same places with the same people, doing the same things. So location really is what made it different, because the second time I went to rehab in Florida, and my dad would not let me go back to Las Vegas. So my options were go to California with my mom's side of the family, or move to Michigan, where my dad is from. Well, with his family. My aunt lives out here in Michigan, and I chose Michigan. And location is really helpful if people can do it. Not everybody can, but if you can, drugs are everywhere. You're going to find them everywhere you go. But I didn't know people who did drugs here. Like, I only knew healthy people. So I chose to surround myself with healthy people here. And that was successful for me.
Yeah. Can I get you to tilt your microphone up just a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Is that better?
Yeah, just tilt it towards you. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So, I want to dig into that just a little bit. So when you came up here to Michigan, walk me through that a little bit. What did you get plugged into that kept you going in the right direction?
So when I first got to Michigan, I moved in with my aunt and uncle. God bless them. They saved me. And they helped me get a job. My uncle owned a franchise of Wendy's in Jackson and around Michigan. So I got a job there. And then I got a job at the YMCA as a lifeguard to keep myself busy, because idle time leads to bad things. Right. So I got those jobs pretty quickly. And then there was a town meeting or a local NA meeting that I started going to that was helpful. I liked the meeting, but I think meetings aren't for everybody, just because when I would go to those meetings, everyone would talk about their addiction, and it would make me think about my addiction. And I was kind of trying to forget about all that. So I didn't really enjoy going to the meetings that often, but I did meet a guy at the YMCA.
Oh.
When I was a swim instructor for little kids, and he was a lifeguard, and I introduced myself. It was very weird because at this time I was only like 3 months clean, and I was very ashamed of my story, very ashamed of like who I was. But when I met him, I was like, here
What
I
is the
am.
name of this fine gentleman? He sounds like a nice guy.
Kaitlin Powell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I met him, and I told him all about me and like the nitty gritty of my story. And he was like, okay, like I'll be your friend. Like, let's be friends. And then it's kind of like a little love story. You know, we were friends and then dated and got engaged. And now we've been married for 4 years. We have a baby, which is so cute. Thank you.
I can attest the baby is adorable.
Oh, so. No, well, the baby's cute, but our love story is cute too.
Yeah, I don't know about all that nonsense. No. So walk me through. So then you got into recovery.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. So when I met him, so when I first moved here to Michigan, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in God at all. And I met Christian, and he was a preacher. And I was like, oh, little standoffish, because in Las Vegas, a lot of people, like I just saw so many hypocritical Christians. Like they say something and they tell you to do something, and then they turn around and do the exact opposite. And it just, I got a really sketchy vibe from it. So when I started dating him, I was like, I just kept a strong eye on him or whatever. I paid close attention to him to make sure he wasn't another one of those crazy Christians. And he wasn't. Like, he took me to church with him, and he was preaching at a homeless reach out ministry at the time. And just listening to his sermons was very impactful for me, because I would see the message that he was preaching impact the people who really, it's like life or death for those individuals that he was talking to. And it was so emotional and received so well by them, and received by me really well. So I just started listening to what he had to say, and I got into the Bible with him and asked him all kinds of questions. He loves answering questions about God and about the faith and everything. And on Easter of 2016, I think, is when I finally professed that I believed in God and everything, and really became involved in the church that he was going to. And my life just turned around like a lot. Like, I started having faith in God and started putting God first, and it was, miraculous. Like, miracles started happening. I started finding that there was purpose in my addiction, instead of saying woe is me all the time, like finding that my addiction, I went through what I went through so I could be here today helping people the way I am. It was just so many things that happened. So basically, I found my recovery in God, being able to walk the path that God has set before me, and being accountable to him, and being able to stay in recovery that way has really been beneficial to me.
Absolutely. So how did you get into the professional field? You're now a recovery coach.
Yeah. So Christian's mom owns an agency called Wellness INX, and she knew that I was in recovery, and she talked to me about a position as a peer recovery coach. I had to have 2 years clean before I got in it. So, I worked, like I said, at the YMCA, at Wendy's, at Subway, like different jobs. But then once I hit 2 years clean, I was able to go to the Recovery Coach Academy in ethics, and got a job at Wellness INX.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And then kind of just progressed on from there and kept in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I want to pick on something you said earlier. You said that you you switched around from almost like being a victim of your disease to using it for your advantage. You kind of started to understand it and realize it played a purpose. How did that affect your mentality towards like your recovery and towards your walk?
So, for a lot of my life, I used to be the woe is me, poor me, feel bad for me kind of person. And in my addiction, that's what I was like. That's why I was an atheist, because I was like, if there's a God, why would he allow X, Y, and Z to happen to me? Because I went through a lot of trauma. But once I got the job as a recovery coach and started understanding recovery, what recovery is, and what recovery coaches offer, the support that we offer, and the how we can help people get over things, I started to see, okay, so, and my faith in God, because like I said, if there was a God, how could he let all that happen? I feel like God made me go through everything that I did and pulled me out of it without really being hurt. I mean, mentally and emotionally, I was definitely hurt, physically sometimes, but like, I'm still alive. I don't have any criminal record, thank God. And I didn't get any diseases or anything, when I was in my active addiction. I think he protected me in that sense, so I can be here working as a recovery coach, able to relate to people, able to show them that I understand. Because when you work with somebody, people who are book smart are great. They help so much because that's their avenue of being able to help people. But people who have actually been there can have a different way of helping people, have a different insight, and I think I've been able to assist people into getting into recovery a lot more because of what I went through. And it helps me stand tall and be very proud of who I am, because I see the life that I live now with God, with Christian, now with our son, compared to what I used to have. And it shows me that like recovery is possible. Like you really can have a better life, no matter where you're from, no matter what you do, no matter what you've done. You can really live a much better life, and it's possible with support, with community, with God, for me. Yeah,
absolutely. I like that. Kind of when someone's been through it, it seems like there's kind of a couple benefits, right? There's a comfortability level that's there, and then there's also a hope shot. It's like this person sees somebody who's got like 6 years clean is like, man, maybe I can do this. This person did the same stuff I used to do.
Right.
It's really it's a hope shot. So being in the recovery field for 4 years, what do you think the recovery field could grow on? What opportunity for growth do you see in the recovery community?
Well,
let's start off locally to start out.
Okay. Well, locally, I mean, Michigan is doing a fantastic job. Like there's a lot of treatment centers, a lot of detox centers, a lot of facilities that offer support for people struggling with addiction. I think, we're already advancing in this area, but locally we could advance more in like the medical field or in the legal system. There are classes that are being offered in the jails and prisons now, and the legal system, in the medical field, is starting to see recovery coaches as an asset nowadays. But I think something we could work towards to progress that quicker is maybe education. That we can offer to people in the medical field and people in the legal system, just so they can really start to see the bigger picture of recovery and what recovery offers and how it is more helpful for social services to be supportive versus throwing them out of the hospital because their vitals are good, or versus throwing them in jail because they're criminals,
Yeah, absolutely. So education, do you see any other tangible ways that can be like walked into the core system in hospitals?
We're already doing it. We teach Recovery Coach Academy and ethics, and those courses are so, the material that we teach is golden. Like it, even if you're not working in recovery, it teaches you how to communicate with people. It teaches you how to have healthier relationships. Like it teaches you how to have work in a leadership role, it's just very helpful. And we offer those classes for free. So, I mean, those are ways. I mean, also podcasts like we're doing right now.
And we have the Assert program too, which brings recovery coaches in the hospital.
Yeah, we offer so many classes, and not just us. Like there's podcasts, there's webinars, there's so many things that you can look up online. Technology is fantastic nowadays, but you can look up to learn more about addiction, I think. And we're already doing this, is being very recovery positive. Like the more recovery positive we are, the more we talk about recovery, the more people hear about it, the more people will learn and know about it. So,
So for the viewers who don't know recovery positive, what do you mean by that?
That means what it sounds like, being very positive and excited about your recovery. So there's recovery positive, recovery neutral, and recovery negative. Recovery positive is what I just said. Neutral is where you're in recovery, but you don't like to talk about it. And that's usually people who have like an image to carry, like a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever. They recognize that they're in recovery, but not everybody needs to know it. And then recovery negative is where you're in recovery, but you're very shamed about it. Like you don't want to talk about it. You feel bad. You carry this guilt or whatever around with you. So a lot more people are being recovery positive nowadays, though, which has, I mean, through the recovery movement has helped us a lot. Back from when NA and AA started, from the anonymous, people used to not want to be known. They used to wear masks when they would go to meetings. But the more time has progressed, the more people have recognized it's great to be positive about your recovery. The more we talk about it, like I said, the more we share about it, the more communities can gather. We have UFAM rallies now in Lansing every summer. Where the whole recovery community comes together and we talk about supports and just positivity about recovery and how we can help each other. Because again, as you know, probably we can't do this alone in recovery. We have to do this with a community and together. So yeah.
There has to be something there, some support. Absolutely. So what about more on a national level? So like on the federal level, what do you see as an opportunity for growth there?
Again, education, just because, and I say that because, like I said, I'm from Vegas, and there's really only 1 or 2 rehabs that I know of in Las Vegas, which is crazy. I mean, there's a lot of meetings and stuff there, but like AA or NA, but nowhere near what Michigan is. And just nationwide, we need to be more supportive of recovery. We need to understand that it is a disease. It's not a choice. People don't just grow up saying, I want to be a drug addict. And once they fall into that addiction, we need support, so we need to educate the nation, the world about addiction and what it is and how people can be supportive the best way, not enabled. Because a lot of people who are not in addiction or don't struggle with addiction do enable, and they are a lot more harmful than helpful. Like they give you too much money, or they let you stay there, whatever it might be with enabling. But we need to educate people on how to help the proper way. I think somehow do that. Absolutely.
I noticed that, the same thing in my home state. I'm from Iowa, and we had that I knew of. There was one rehab, one actual inpatient facility. There was one,
Right. And then it comes to insurance, like whether your insurance will cover it, or if you don't have insurance, if you have Medicaid, if you have private insurance,
Yeah, I will say I've noticed in Michigan, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. I guess you said yourself, that they're very ahead in the recovery community. And when I moved here, I was told that they're 5 years ahead of everybody else in the recovery field. A lot of truth to that. I've never seen anything quite like this until I moved up here.
Absolutely. And when I first got into this field, I was uneducated. I thought everywhere was like here. And then I've talked to people in different states and stuff, and they're like, we don't have block grant. We don't have that kind of supportive meeting. We don't have, the things we have here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Yeah. And speaking of block grant, that's where somebody who doesn't have insurance, if they want to go to treatment and if they want to go to some type of facility that insurance would be required, the government provides a block grant where they can go to inpatient treatment for up to 30 days where the government will pay for it. And then while they're there, their case manager will help them apply for Medicaid, state insurance. And after the 30 days, that insurance should set in so they can stay for 60 or 90 days or however much longer they need, or go to outpatient services, which is, do you want me to explain what outpatient
No,
services?
no,
Okay.
you're fine. No.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess in that same note, we're kind of talking, you kind of already talked about it a little bit on the Michigan level, but what do you see as like the real positive? Like, where's the recovery community really heading in the right direction right now?
The support. Like I said, the recovery community is very recovery positive. People are not afraid to proclaim like how much clean time they have, or talk about their stories to help another one who is still hurting, help them heal, So I think the recovery positive aspect of it is fantastic, and the support. Like I said, there's recovery coaches are booming. There's so many recovery coaches. Christian and I have been teaching Recovery Coach Academy for like 3 years now, and we've taught about 1,000 people, if not more than that, to be recovery coaches, which is fantastic. So many people are wanting to work in this field more, and wanting to be of support in the proper way, like I said, which is going through the academies or learning the education or the materials that you need to know on how to help people. So I think that's great. I think it's awesome that every day of the week you can find any kind of meeting. Well, like I said, in Michigan, I don't know if it's like that everywhere else,
Right.
but
the online opportunities are at least still there, right?
Yeah. In the Rooms is a great one.
Yep. The In the Rooms app. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that the great thing about the recovery community now is just how much support there is. People are not really in the community. People are not really shaming each other.
So I want to jump on that for a minute. So you're saying in the community, people aren't shamed or shaming of people anymore. So obviously we're kind of dipping into stigma.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about stigma and how you've seen that play out outside of the recovery community. Because I know what you mean. Inside of the recovery community, we're kind of
on the same page. Yeah.
Right.
Like we get the lingo and everything. But yes, outside of the community, again, it's that education or lack of education. Like I have friends that don't really understand addiction and will still just call somebody a junkie or a drug addict, or somebody who, they look at them as less than themselves, or less than normies or the other population.
Our stigma for the regular world, normies,
Normies are those who are not in addiction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
we have categorized like 90% now.
Which is kind of bad because we're like labeling them, as normies.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what was the question again?
Oh yeah, we kind of went down a rabbit hole there. So we were talking about the stigma from the outside world coming in. You kind of talked about the education needed and things of that necessity. Yeah.
So I think stigma is a lot better than it used to be, because people are starting to understand. I mean, at least there's a conversation being had. Is it a choice or is it a disease? Before it was just a choice. All the commercials, just say no.
Right. Dare.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But people are starting to have the conversation more and be a little bit more aware, a lot more aware, I'd say, of addiction and the deadliness of it. But there still are so many people that, because if you don't have an addiction problem, why should we expect that you're going to invest time to learn about addiction, to learn about the deadliness of it, or if it's a disease or not, or what the drugs do to you, or what the drugs are, like that's kind of a hard thing to expect of the world if you're not struggling with it. To like invest time and figure it out. However, pretty much everybody is touched by addiction nowadays in one way or another, whether it's yourself, your spouse, your children, your cousins, family member, parents. But again, not everybody deals with the way they're being affected with addiction in the best way. Some
Yep.
people isolate. Some people are angry. Some people want to reject the addiction. Some people don't want to deal with it and think that it's not my circus, not my monkeys, not my problem. So why am I going to care about it? So
Yeah, I think absolutely.
I don't know if I went down another rabbit hole with
I
that.
think you hit on it perfectly. So yeah, I think you're right. I really like one of the things you said is that nowadays I think everybody's touched by addiction in some form. I would say that someone in everyone's family probably either someone or someone who knows someone who's struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
You've at least heard about it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think the education plays a huge role. Absolutely. And I think people are just scared, is like what brought on a lot of the original stigma.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's these people, opioid epidemic starting. I want to get away from that. Just, throw them in jail. And obviously that didn't work. So,
right.
So here we are. So yeah, absolutely. So reduction of stigma is it's a really interesting topic. I think that it can be, we can talk about it for quite a while. I don't think we're going to, but absolutely. I think education is crucial. To the outside population now, not just the people in recovery.
Yeah. And the question is, like, how do we get that education to people? But the bigger question should be, how do we not get it to them? Because like I said, I'm from Vegas, and it was received well by myself and by everybody who lives in Las Vegas that partying, drugs, sex, gambling, that's all great. Like, you should do that. That was very well received because it was promoted very well there. Why is nobody promoting recovery? Like how can we get the media, who affects everybody, to promote recovery, to make recovery seem fun, to make recovery seem worth it, to make recovery attractive,
Right.
And I think we're doing that more and more through the recovery community, kind of. But
I feel like through people stepping out, showing them like, hey, we're here, we're functioning members of society. Like, we did it, it's possible. Like
recovery coaches and sponsors and everybody who's doing that. And that's really on the kind of the local level. I mean, federally, nationally, people are doing it, but I would love to see it being done bigger, instead of those commercials that are talking about Budweiser or whatever alcohol that you should go buy, talk about something in recovery and something fun that you can do in recovery. Like, I don't know, just promoting recovery on the commercials or on the radio commercials or on billboards,
I will say that the Super Bowl is sponsored by the non-alcoholic Budweiser this year. So we're moving in the right direction.
Baby steps. I mean, it's non-alcoholic, but it's an alcohol.
Probably shouldn't go down that path. So I want to ask you, I think this is a really important question. We probably have some viewers on here, or hopefully we have some viewers, but hopefully some people new in recovery are listening right now. So what would you want to say to those listeners? What's something that you think they should know?
So there's two things. The first thing is, which is so powerful, I think, especially, I mean, it was to me, is that you are worth being in recovery. Because I know for myself, when I first got into recovery, I had no self-worth. I did not think I was worthy of anything, of love. I didn't even know what love was when I first got into recovery. But I didn't think I was worthy of happiness, of love, of a good life, of healthy relationships, of sobriety, of respect, nothing, But that's one of the biggest things that people need to know is, again, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter where you come from, you are so worth recovery. You are worth love. You are worth respect. You are worth self-respect, which is, that comes in when you get into recovery. Forgiveness, you have to learn how to forgive yourself and forgive whoever did whatever to you. I think that's the biggest thing about being in recovery that people need to know. Everything else will fall in line once you start to give yourself some credit. But another a thing to follow right after that is support. Like I told you, we can't do this alone. We should not do this alone. If you try and do this alone, unfortunately, you're going to fail. Because it's so easy to talk yourself out of something, I'm going to go to the meeting. Oh, but it's late. I got work tomorrow.
I have to ride
I
the
should
bus.
go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah. Like we can, just like working out. I tried to work out without a workout buddy,
Mm-hmm.
and I would get to the gym, get on the running machine, and be like, okay, I made it. So I'm going to go tan and then go home and,
Mm-hmm.
and not work out. Like having that accountability buddy is what we like
Mm-hmm.
to call them. Somebody to hold you accountable and somebody to walk, maybe not hand in hand, but side by side with you down your recovery pathway and keep you accountable to your goals, keep you accountable to even your mistakes, to your honesty, to yourself. Right. is very important. And I highly suggest that accountability buddy be somebody professional, or somebody who has a lot more clean time than you, because if you get clean and then the next day somebody else gets clean and you want them to be your sponsor, you want them to hold you accountable, it's like the blind leading the blind. Right. You guys are not where you need to be really helping each other at that time, which is where recovery coaches come in, or sponsors, or therapists, or doctors, or whatever. People really who you aspire to be is who you should cling on to in recovery. So again, having that recovery support group around you to keep you accountable and to remind you to practice positive affirmations, telling yourself you're worth it, you can do it, you're strong, you're whatever it might be. That is my best advice for people who are new in recovery. That is what you need to find first, I think, to really get and obtain and maintain long-term sobriety.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really like what you said there about finding someone you aspire to be. I know when I first came in recovery, it was explained to me, I was looking for a sponsor. That's kind of, I had like a mentor. I had Christian as a mentor, actually. Kaitlin Powell, your husband, co-host. Yeah. He's a nice guy. He's all right, I guess. Yeah. But I found, I was looking for a sponsor, and somebody told me, find somebody who has what you want and ask them how they got it.
Yes.
And that was very true. That's how I found my sponsor. That's how I found people I want to be around, is like, who do I want to be, and how do I surround myself with people like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe somewhere in Proverbs it talks about, surround yourself with the wise and you'll be wise. I think that can be very true in our lives. So,
and I think just to kind of dive in a little bit deeper to what you said, so we all understand, find somebody who has what you want in a good way, not who's got like all the bad things, but like who's got a stable life, who's got supportive relationships, who's got maybe a job that they're holding down, or a house, or stability.
Not the guy who comes to the meeting with the new girl every week and you're like, man, how does he do that?
He's got a pocket full of cash and
Yeah, absolutely. So find somebody who has what you want in a good sense. I like that. Good little disclaimer there. So what about for the family member listening right now? What's something that you think they should know? A family member is somebody who's struggling with addiction.
Well, there is a lot of support for family members. Also, there's Families Against Narcotics, which is a meeting that I don't know if that's just in Michigan.
I believe for the time being it is. I could be mistaken.
So many different counties in Michigan, but it's a meeting where families can come, like the parents, anybody who is not struggling with addiction, the person who is struggling with addiction, doctors, lawyers, the legal team, police officers. So many people come and they just talk about addiction. They talk about how, like, what they're struggling with, how they can support their family members. And then people who are struggling with addiction, professionals that work in the field, can answer it. So it's a very open meeting, very supportive. That's an option. Al-Anon meetings are an option where family members can go and they can learn how they can support also.
And the non meetings.
Yep. Yeah. And again, just education. Like, there's so many ways that you can look into how to help your loved one that's struggling with addiction. My strongest advice is, don't think you know how to help them if you don't. If you think you're gonna just love your loved one by allowing them to stay in your basement for free without getting a job, without giving them any accountability, you're gonna love them to death, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard, where you just give them money and you give them whatever they want, because as long as they're in your house, or as long as you know where they are, they'll be safe. They won't be, because they will bring drugs into your house. They will use the money to go buy drugs. And again, that's loving your family member or your loved one to death. Like I said, Families Against Narcotics, all these different meetings you can go to, look into support systems like treatment centers, detox, call somebody who works in the professional field, and they will be able to help you figure out what the best avenue is for your loved one, whether it's going to detox and then treatment, or going to a meeting, or being seen by a psych doctor. Maybe they need medications, maybe they need to be evaluated, maybe, there's a million different things, but just really getting in touch with that professional first.
Get an unbiased opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's also family coaches through Families Against Narcotics, right?
There are.
So kind of like peer recovery coaches, but actually for a family member.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that'd be very beneficial for people up there in the Michigan area.
Another thing where the recovery community is proving to be moving forward and expanding, which is great.
Absolutely. So I kind of want to swing into back into your profession, I guess. So you've been in the field for 4 years now. So what have you learned through being in the field? What has that experience been like for you?
I've learned a lot. I mean, the experience has been fantastic. It's really opened my eyes to see, how the world really is. I don't know how to best answer that. Like, I've seen what great things communities can do when we come together. I've seen, or I've learned a lot about the medical field, a lot about the legal field. I've been able to do some really cool things. Like when I was in active addiction, I used to hate cops and be terrified of them. And since I've been in this field, I've been able to go into jails, literally, not in the cell, but walking right past the cell to work with inmates, to assist them in their recovery, and been able to reduce the stigma and be able to help them get into a recovery, start their recovery pathway, and give them hope and everything. That's been really cool.
It's a cool experience, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. So it's I was terrified and hated cops, and now I'm working with cops,
right?
Which is cool.
I know I saw another recovery coach where he used to struggle with addiction as well in the jail one time, and he was like, "Hey man, we're both in jail, but neither of us are in jail. Isn't that crazy?"
Yeah, it is very cool. And just being seen as a proper member of society, that's crazy, because it's just crazy to look back at 6 years ago, well, almost 7 years ago, all the things I was doing. And now I'm seen as a paraprofessional nowadays. I'm respected, and I sit on the panel of a drug court, and when we would go to meetings, have the staff meetings, it's me and then therapists and a judge and a chief probation agent and lawyers, and they ask me for my advice on what should be done for a participant in the program. And then that's what I suggest is made part of their probation requirements, which is crazy. It's me, you listen to me. But it's the more you work in this field, or the more that I've worked in this field, the more education I've gotten, the more credentials I've gotten, the more certificates I've got. People trust me, which is awesome, and trust me to be able to help people, which is really cool, because I used to be a poor influence, a really bad influence on people, and now I'm able to have such good influence on people. So I don't think I really answered your question, but I've really learned a lot in this field. I've learned how to reduce stigma. I've learned how to communicate with people, to get them into recovery. I've learned how to present recovery to other professionals to have the best outcome for them happen, like in the court system, or if I'm advocating for somebody. I've learned how to support myself in recovery. I've learned so much working in this field, to benefit other people and to benefit myself. Definitely.
Yeah. Who would have thought that Kaitlin would be sitting in a room with a judge and a probation officer and a therapist and not been the one on trial?
I know. Not me.
Crazy, huh? So what would you, I guess on that note, what would you say to someone coming into this field? What would be some advice for them? Someone might be coming in to be a peer recovery coach.
Oh, good question. So definitely I would say to set boundaries and to practice self-care yourself as somebody working in this field, because you know what Cloud 9 is, right?
Yeah. The pink cloud of living.
Yeah. So when you first get into recovery, once you have 2 years, whatever, when you what you need to work in this field and you first get into this field, you're kind of on the pink cloud, kind of on cloud 9 of, oh my gosh, I'm in recovery. I'm going to save people by the power of my testimony. I'm going to, save the world, which is a great fervor to have. And I suggest people continue to have that, but we need to set boundaries and we need to practice self-care, because if you go out and think, I'm going to share my testimony and I'm going to touch every life and everything is going to be great and people are going to receive my testimony respectfully and they're going to live a much better life, you're wrong, unfortunately. So when you get in this field, people don't really care about your story that you're helping, because they're there to help themselves. So if imagine yourself as somebody who has a day clean and you go in and I go in to meet with you and you greet me by, hey, my name is Hunter. This is my story. I'm so proud of myself. Look what I accomplished. I don't care about you. I care about myself. I'm trying to get the help, so, so it's important to know that, you need to learn how to speak to the recoveries and how to make it about them, because it is about them. And then setting the boundaries of, okay, I'm going to be your recovery coach and I'm going to do everything that I can to help you get into recovery Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, because that's when I am working as a recovery coach. But after 5 o'clock, and on the weekends, you're not working as a recovery coach. You have to live your own life. And if you choose to pick up those phone calls and choose to try and work with people past those work hours, you're going to burn out. And burnout meaning you are not going to be practicing self-care. You're not going to be putting yourself first. You're going to start to hate or despise the job that you do, which could either lead to relapse yourself if you're in recovery, or lead you to hate this field and not work in it. And that is so important. And Christian and I tell every class that we teach this. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah. And if you listen, that's good. But if you don't, like, we've seen so many people. That's why this field is so, there's recovery coaches, new recovery coaches in and out of this field all the time, because because people burn out all the time. Like, you need to set those boundaries. You need to practice self-care, which could be journaling, could be going to a meeting, having your own sponsor. An important thing about the meeting is, if you're in recovery, don't tell your clients or your recoverees where you go to your home group. You need your own home group, so you can still have that open room, open ability to talk about what you're going through and not have the client hold that over your head or whatever it might be. Right. Or have your therapist that you're going to, or have a sponsor, or your own support group, your own healthy hobbies that you're doing consistently to maintain your own recovery or maintain your own sanity, Yeah,
I feel like it can be really difficult, especially people in recovery, to get that boundary and that self-care thing on there, because they're still working on self-care. I've noticed that a lot when I came into this job field. I'm still trying to figure out how to take care of myself, how to practice hobbies, how many meetings I need to go to.
Absolutely.
And during meetings, I was taught, like, you write down your phone number, or, you can call your sponsor anytime, or you can call the list of phone numbers anytime you're struggling and someone's going to answer. And you also have the same responsibility. But in the job field, it's not the same. No. Because you will have clients call you at 11 o'clock and you will have them call you because they have their life is on fire. And it's like, well, your life will be on fire at 9 a.m. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And that's a hard boundary to set, because, people with that really long empathy bone want to be able to help you. And then if you don't help them, or if you set that boundary and stick to it and something bad happens, you're going to hold yourself responsible. Or you're going to feel like you're responsible for whatever happened. But you have to remember, we live our own life, I have my own house, my own husband, my own child to come home to at night. You have your own life, and I can help you as much as I can. But when the work hour stops, the work hour stops. And I have to be able to separate the two, especially if something bad happens to that individual that you're working with. We have to recognize that it's their life, it's their addiction. Maybe they just weren't ready for recovery, or maybe, whatever happened, but we can't hold ourselves responsible unless we are literally the one that went and shot them up or killed them or whatever, then we're responsible. But 9 times out of 10, hopefully 10 times out of 10, that's not the case.
maybe like 999 out of 1,000.
Yeah.
Hopefully more than that. But yeah, I mean, going off of what you're saying there, I also hearing a lot about like how it's beneficial for us, but it's also beneficial for the recovery. We
Self-efficacy.
we don't want codependence with our clients. Absolutely
not. Yeah, because a lot of people who are coming into recovery are coming from a codependent relationship, myself included. When I first got into recovery, I was very codependent. Like the relationship I was in my active addiction, I would do anything and everything to make sure that guy loved me or stayed with me, or stayed with me. I would put myself in harm's way all the time. It was crazy the things I did. Like I almost got myself killed a lot of times to make this dude like me or stay with me, And when I get into recovery, that is not what we need to promote. We need to promote, like I said, self-efficacy or self-independence, the ability for people to live their own life on life's terms independently. Like I need to be able to figure out how to get to meetings, what meetings there are, how to get to the meetings, how to find a sponsor, how to live my life without just this one person. Because if I do everything for my client or my recovery, I'm not helping their recovery process at all. I'm enabling them, just like I said, how family members do. Us as professionals, we need to be sure that we're setting a prime example of how to live your life independently. And like I said, if I do everything for them, what if I'm sick one day and I can't go to work, or if I go on vacation or whatever happens? They're not going to know what to do for their recovery. They could very easily relapse, or they could hold their recovery hostage. And what I mean by that is, if I'm not there or nobody's there to help them, sometimes people will say, okay, well, I'm just going to go use because you're not doing this for me. I'm just going to go use because you don't care enough to pick up the phone call at 6:00 after work hours, And that is not, that's not recovery positive. I mean, that's not good at all. That's not going to help anybody.
Absolutely. So kind of my final question for you, I want to ask you, so obviously, once again, congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
How does that motivate your recovery from this point forward?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I had my son 9 days ago. And like I said before, I've always wanted to be a mom. And when I was in my active addiction, I got pregnant. I had the abortion. That was my rock bottom. And now it's come around full circle. I have 6 years clean. I've been married for 4 years, and now I have a healthy baby, like a healthy family, a beautiful, not gonna lie, my son is the cutest, a beautiful son. And it just motivates me because I couldn't have what I have now if I didn't get into recovery, if I didn't utilize the support systems, if I didn't walk my recovery walk, if I didn't do all the things that I did and rely on the support that I did. So I'm so motivated to stay in recovery, obviously, just because the life that I have, it's so much better. And I want recovery. I want this life, and I want to be a good mother for my son, which I am completely determined to be a good example, somebody to look up to, somebody to teach him the right way. I am so motivated and determined to be that for him, to be what I didn't really have, to, like I said, to teach him the right ways, to teach him about addiction, stage appropriate,
Right.
like when he's
It's
3.
not gonna be like the 4th birthday thing.
Yeah, when he's 3 or 4, I'm not going to teach him about heroin or shooting at what,
Right.
but stage appropriate. So as he grows up, we're going to teach him how to be such a good, strong, Christian young man. But,
Mhm.
but yeah, my son is a huge motivation for me to stay on track. Obviously everything else is, I'm going to stay on track no matter what, but, he is my everything now, and I am very excited to still be in recovery and to work in this field. And I think all the things that I've learned from working in this field will also help me raise my son with how to speak to him, how to motivational interviewing, how to talk to him, how to educate him, how to have patience with him, because I've had to have patience with a lot of the clients and everything that I've worked with. So yeah, it's just all around great. I'm really excited about where I am in my own recovery, where I am in the recovery community, and being able to bring my son up in this community. It's a great community to bring him up in, I think, to educate him and have him be a part of a strong, continual, growing community of friends, of professionals in this field. I think he's going to have a very, very successful, clean life, sober life.
Well, that is awesome. So it was a pleasure to interview you. Great to hear more
Absolutely.
about your story, and I look forward to having you on in the future.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, Hunter.
yeah.